The signal from the abyss. The deep silence of space surrounded the Galactic Concorde science vessel, Stellar Inquirer, as it drifted through an uncharted sector. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge, her slender frame casting a long shadow under the dim blue lights. Her skin shimmered with a faint purple hue, characteristic of the Lysari species, while her large almond-shaped eyes scanned the holographic displays floating before her. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual," said Science Officer Wren, his four-fingered hands dancing across the sensor panel. His tentacle-like appendages on his head twitched with excitement. "It's a signal pattern I've never seen before." Voss moved closer to the panel, her movements graceful despite the ship's minimal artificial gravity. The Stellar Inquirer was a small research vessel with a crew of just 15 scientists and explorers from various worlds of the Galactic Concorde. "What kind of signal?" she asked, her voice carrying the melodic undertones common to her people. "It appears to be a distress call, Captain. Very primitive, but unmistakable in its pattern." Wren's yellow eyes widened. "It repeats in regular intervals with minimal degradation. Can you trace it?" "Already did, Captain. It's coming from a star system approximately 2 light jumps from our current position." Wren pulled up a star map on the main screen. "Third planet from a G-type star." Voss studied the map with interest. This sector was far from the established trade routes and patrol paths. Most ships avoided it because of the higher radiation levels and unstable gravitational anomalies. If someone was stranded here and calling for help, their situation was dire. "Do we have any records of inhabited planets in this system?" she asked. Navigation Officer Trell, a small amphibious being with translucent skin that revealed the outlines of his major organs, checked the Concorde database. "Very limited information, Captain," he reported, his gill slits fluttering nervously. "The system was briefly surveyed over 3 centuries ago. The third planet was noted as potentially having primitive life forms, but it was classified as a Class 5 death world." A death world. Voss's luminescent spots along her neck dimmed slightly, a sign of concern among her people. Death worlds were planets with extreme conditions, high gravity, dangerous levels of radiation, aggressive wildlife, toxic atmospheres, or unpredictable weather patterns. Most spacefaring species evolved on much gentler worlds. Anything that survived on a death world was either exceptionally robust or remarkably intelligent. Usually both. "Yes, Captain," Trell continued. "High gravity at 1.3 standard, significant radiation from its sun, extreme weather patterns, and a remarkable variety of predator species. The original survey team recommended avoiding contact to see if anything intelligent could eventually evolve there." Voss returned to her command chair. "And now we're receiving a distress signal from there." "Interesting. Let me hear it." Wren played the message through the ship's speakers. It was simple, a repeating pattern that translated roughly to SOS. "Help needed? Respond." "How old would you say this signal is?" Voss asked. Wren analyzed the degradation pattern. "Based on the signal decay and propagation characteristics, I'd estimate it's approximately 300 years old, Captain." 3 centuries. Voss's bioluminescent spots flashed in surprise. Could any survivors still be alive after so long? "Unknown, Captain," said Trell. "We don't know what species sent the message. Some beings can live for centuries, and there's always the possibility of generation ships or cryogenic preservation." Voss tapped her long fingers on the arm of her chair, contemplating their next move. The Concorde laws were clear. All distress signals must be investigated, and endangered intelligent species must be helped if possible. Even if the chances of finding survivors were small, they had to report it. "Send a message to Concorde High Command," she ordered. "Include all the data we have on the signal and the planet." Request instructions. The response from High Command came 8 hours later. The Stellar Inquirer was to continue its scientific mission. A specialized aid fleet would be dispatched to investigate the distress signal. "Looks like the rescue experts will handle this one," Voss told her disappointed crew. "We're scientists, not first contact specialists. Let's continue our survey of the nearby nebula. As the Stellar Inquirer changed course and moved away, Voss couldn't help but wonder about the mysterious signal and what they might find on that distant death world. She had no way of knowing that the simple decision to report the signal would set in motion events that would change the Galactic Concorde forever. 3 weeks later, aboard the Concorde aid vessel Benevolence, Commander Turan reviewed the mission briefing. The tall, crystalline being had a transparent upper body with pulsating blue energy visible within his core. As a luminar, he was composed primarily of crystallized energy, making him resistant to harsh environments, a useful trait for rescue missions. "The signal is definitely a distress call," said communications specialist Zara, her feathered crest rising with excitement as she showed Turan the analysis. "It's primitive but clear in its meaning. And we're sure it's coming from the planet itself, not a ship in orbit." Turan asked, his voice resonating like crystal chimes. "Positive, Commander. It originates from the northern continent of the third planet." Turan studied the information gathered by the Stellar Inquirer. The planet was small but dense, with gravity about 30% stronger than Concorde standard. Its atmosphere contained high levels of oxygen, a highly reactive and potentially dangerous gas in large amounts. The planet had vast oceans, active tectonic activity, and extreme temperature variations. All these factors combined made it a Class 5 death world. What could survive in such conditions, he wondered, let alone develop technology sophisticated enough to send signals into space? "Prepare a standard first contact package," he instructed. "We'll approach cautiously and establish communication before landing. The usual protocols for primitive civilizations apply." The aid fleet consisted of 5 vessels, the Benevolence as the command ship, 2 medical ships, 1 supply carrier, and 1 security vessel with a small defense force. It was the standard response to a distress call from an unknown planet. As the fleet prepared for the final jump to the coordinates, Turan addressed his crew. "Remember, we're here to help. Whatever being sent this signal, they've been waiting for a response for 3 centuries. Be patient and gentle in your approach. They may be frightened or suspicious." The ships activated their jump drives. The stars blurred. And then they were there, in orbit around a blue and green planet that looked deceptively peaceful from space. "Scan for technology signatures and population centers," Turan ordered. The sensor results that came back made everyone on the bridge fall silent. "Commander," said the sensor operator, her voice trembling slightly, "I'm detecting thousands of artificial satellites, orbital stations, and warships. Big ones. The planet has a fully developed space infrastructure." "That's impossible," Turan said, moving to the sensor station. "The report from 300 years ago said they were primitive." "They're not primitive anymore, sir." The operator paused, checking her readings again. "Sir, several of their vessels are changing course. They're heading toward us." On the main screen, they watched as a formation of massive ships broke away from the planet's orbit and moved in their direction. They were huge, sleek, and bristling with what could only be weapon systems. "They're hailing us, Commander," Zara reported. "Put it through," Turan said, straightening his posture. The screen flickered, and Turan found himself looking at a being unlike any he had seen before. It had only 2 eyes, pink-tan skin, and strange fur on top of its head. It wore what appeared to be a military uniform with numerous decorations. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the being said in a firm, clear voice. "You have entered Earth-controlled space without authorization. Identify yourselves and state your purpose immediately." Turan felt his energy core pulse rapidly. The primitive distress signal had led them straight to a fully developed, militarized world. A world whose inhabitants had somehow survived and thrived on a Class 5 death world. And now they were facing a war fleet of Deathworlders who clearly thought they were under attack. Commander Turan stood frozen for a moment, staring at the human on the screen. This was not what he had expected to find. The being called Admiral Chen looked strong and confident, nothing like a creature in need of rescue. "I am Commander Toren of the Galactic Concord Aid Fleet," he finally responded. "We are here in response to a distress signal from your planet." Admiral Chen's face showed confusion. She was a tall woman with short black hair streaked with gray. Behind her, other humans worked at various stations on what was clearly the bridge of a warship. "Distress signal. We sent no distress signal," Chen said firmly. "Earth has not requested aid from any external entities." Toren's crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. "Our science vessel detected an SOS signal from your planet approximately 3 weeks ago. It appears to be quite old, possibly sent many years ago." Chen turned to speak quietly with one of her officers before facing the screen again. "We haven't used SOS signals for deep space communication in over 2 centuries. Whatever you detected must be very old." Realization began to dawn on Toren. Had they responded to an ancient signal? If so, they had just entered the territory of an advanced species without proper diplomatic protocols. This was a serious mistake. "I apologize for the confusion," Toren said. "It seems we may have detected a historical transmission. However, now that we are here, perhaps we could establish friendly contact. The Galactic Concord would be pleased to open diplomatic relations with your world." Chen's expression remained stern. "That decision is not mine to make. I need to contact Earth Central Command. In the meantime, your fleet will remain where it is. Make no attempts to approach closer to Earth or our defense platforms. Any movement will be considered hostile." The screen went dark before Toren could respond. "Commander, their ships are taking up defensive positions around us," reported Security Officer Drav. The bulky reptilian officer's armored scales had darkened with stress. "They've activated weapon systems and shields." Toren felt his energy core pulsing rapidly. This was quickly becoming a dangerous situation. "Make no aggressive moves," he ordered. "Keep our shields down. We don't want them to think we're preparing for combat." "Sir, should we prepare for combat?" asked Drav. "No," Toren said firmly. "We're an aid fleet, not a war fleet. Our mission is peaceful." "With all due respect, Commander," Drav said quietly, "they don't seem to believe that." On the bridge of the Earth flagship Defender, Admiral Chen was having an emergency conference with Earth Central Command. The large screen showed 5 serious-looking officials seated around a table. 5 alien ships appeared in our space without warning," Chen explained. "They claim they received an old distress signal from Earth. Their ships appear lightly armed, but we can't be sure of their true capabilities." "Could it be a trick?" asked General Kowalski, a heavy-set man with a thick white beard. "Remember the Voidstrider tactics? They pretended to be traitors before they attacked our outer colonies." "Possible but unlikely," Chen replied. "Their approach seems genuinely confused, and their ships don't match any known hostile species." "What about the distress signal they mentioned?" asked another official. "I've had our communications team looking into it," Chen said. "They believe the aliens might have picked up one of our early space exploration broadcasts. In the late 21st century, we sent several test signals that used the old SOS format to see how far our transmissions could reach. So these aliens responded to a 300-year-old test signal." General Kowalski's bushy eyebrows rose in surprise. "It appears so," Chen nodded. "But that raises more questions. Why would an advanced civilization only now detect a signal from 3 centuries ago? And why come with such a small fleet if they plan to help or attack?" "Regardless of their intentions," said the stern-faced woman at the head of the table, "we must proceed with caution. The first contact wars taught us that lesson well. Admiral Chen, you are authorized to establish communication, but not to allow them any closer to Earth. Keep your weapons ready, but do not fire unless fired upon." "Understood, Madam President," Chen replied. Back on the Benevolence, Toren was reviewing all the data they had on Class 5 Deathworlds. The information was limited but terrifying. "Look at these gravity readings," he told his senior staff. Beings from this planet would have developed much stronger muscles and denser bones than most Concord species, and the radiation levels from their sun would have required advanced cellular repair mechanisms. Not to mention surviving the predators, added Medical Officer Lyra, a small being with 6 arms and bright purple skin. Deathworld predators are typically faster and more aggressive than those on standard worlds. "What are you saying?" asked Zora. "I'm saying," Toran replied gravely, "that if these humans evolved on this planet, they're probably physically superior to most species in the Concord, and judging by those warships, they're technologically advanced as well." "Commander," interrupted Communications Officer Zora, "they're hailing us again." Admiral Chen's face appeared on screen once more. "Commander Toran, our records indicate we may have identified the signal you detected. It was likely a test broadcast from our early space exploration era, approximately 300 years ago. It was never intended as a genuine distress call." Toran felt both relief and concern. Relief that the misunderstanding was explained, but concern that they had essentially invaded the space of a militarily powerful species based on a mistake. "I understand," he replied. "Again, we apologize for entering your territory without proper introduction. The Galactic Concord has strict protocols about responding to distress signals, even ancient ones." Chen nodded. "We appreciate the humanitarian intention. However, we still need to verify your identity and purpose. We request permission to send a shuttle to inspect your vessel." Toran hesitated. Having Deathworlders aboard was risky, but refusing would appear suspicious. "Granted," he said finally. "We welcome your inspection team." As the communication ended, Security Officer Drav approached Toran. "Commander, one of our sensor techs just completed a deep scan of their lead warship. You need to see this." The scan showed weapon systems far more powerful than the Benevolence's shields could withstand. The human ships were designed for war, with multiple redundant systems and armored that would require enormous energy to penetrate. "They could destroy our entire fleet in minutes if they wanted to," Drav said quietly. "Then why haven't they?" asked Zora. "Because they're still trying to understand what we're doing here," Toran replied. "Just as we're trying to understand them." Before they could discuss further, alarms blared across the ship. "Commander," called the sensor operator. "Multiple ships just appeared at the edge of the system. They're not human vessels. When Deathworlders fight." Commander Toran rushed to the main view screen as new data flooded in. The approaching vessels were unlike anything in either the Concord or human fleets. Sleek, black ships with organic-looking hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. 27 ships detected, reported the sensor operator. Configuration unknown. They're moving into attack formation. Are they responding to hails? Toran asked urgently. Negative, Commander. They're ignoring all communication attempts. The communication system suddenly activated, and Admiral Chen's face appeared on screen. Her expression was no longer one of suspicion, but of grim recognition. Concord vessel, this is Admiral Chen. Those ships are Void Strider vessels. They've attacked our outer colonies multiple times over the past decade. They're hostile. I repeat, they are hostile. Recommend immediate defensive measures. Toran's energy core pulsed rapidly. Admiral, we're an aid fleet with minimal combat capabilities. Our shields and weapons aren't designed for full-scale warfare. Chen's expression hardened. Then fall back behind our defensive line. We'll handle this. The screen split, showing another human officer. Admiral, the Void Striders have changed course. They're heading directly for the alien fleet, ignoring our positions entirely. Chen's eyes widened slightly. They're targeting you specifically, Commander Toran. That can't be a coincidence. Toran turned to his tactical officer. How long until they're in weapons range? 4 minutes, Commander. The realization struck Toran with crystal clarity. They're not here for Earth. They're here for us. They must have detected our jump signatures and followed us here. Chen's voice cut through his thoughts. Commander, Pull your ships back to these coordinates. We'll provide cover." "Why would you help us?" Toran asked, genuinely surprised. "Because if these are the same aliens who've been raiding our colonies, I want to know why they're so interested in you," Chen replied pragmatically. "Besides, an enemy of the Void Striders might make a useful ally." Toran gave the order, and the Concord fleet began moving toward the coordinates Chen had provided, a position just behind Earth's first defensive line. As they moved, the Void Strider fleet accelerated, clearly intent on intercepting them before they could reach safety. "They'll be in firing range before we reach the human defensive line," Drav reported grimly. "Our rear ships won't make it." Toran made a quick decision. All power to engines and rear shields. Medical ships and supply carrier take point position. Benevolence and security vessel will take rear guard. As the Concord ships rearranged their formation, the first shots came from the Void Strider fleet. Strange, pulsating energy bolts that seemed to distort space itself as they traveled. "Shields holding at 70%, reported Drav after the first volley hit. "But they won't withstand many more hits like that." Suddenly, the space around them lit up as Earth's warships opened fire. The human weapons were remarkably effective. Dense packets of high-energy particles that tore through the Void Strider's exotic shielding. "The humans are engaging," Zara exclaimed. "They're drawing fire away from us." On the screen, they watched as Earth's military vessels executed complex maneuvers that seemed impossible for ships of their size. They moved with a precision and aggression that left the Concorde crew stunned. Their pilots must be experiencing forces that would kill most Concorde species, Medical Officer Lyra observed, watching the battle analytics. Yet they're maintaining complex formations and targeting solutions. The Earth fleet had divided into 3 battle groups, one engaging the main Void Strider force, one protecting the Concorde ships, and one executing a flanking maneuver that was forcing the Void Striders to divide their attention. "They fight like they evolved as pack hunters," Drav said with professional admiration. "Look at how they're isolating individual enemy ships and focusing fire." Despite the impressive human tactics, the Void Striders' superior numbers were beginning to tell. 2 human destroyers had already taken heavy damage, and the Void Striders were pressing their advantage, gradually pushing back the defensive line. "Commander Toran," Admiral Chen's voice came through again. "We've analyzed their attack pattern. They're trying to disable your command ship, not destroy it. They want something from you." Toran considered this information. "Our ship contains detailed navigational data on much of Concorde space. If they captured that, they could launch attacks deep into your territory." Chen finished his thought. "We can't let that happen." "Agreed. But how do we stop them? They outnumber us both." Chen's face showed the determined expression of someone who had made a difficult decision. "We have a prototype weapon that might work against their shields, but we need to get closer. Can your ships create a diversion?" Toran looked at his tactical display. The medical ships and supply carrier had nearly reached the safety of Earth's inner defensive perimeter, but the benevolence and security vessel were still vulnerable. Creating a diversion would put them at extreme risk. "What kind of diversion?" he asked. "We need you to transmit a high-energy burst on these frequencies." Chen sent the data. "It will make them think you're preparing to jump to hyperspace. They'll concentrate their fire on preventing your escape." "That would drain our remaining shield power," Drav warned. "We'd be defenseless. But it would give Earth's forces the opening they need." Toran replied. "Prepare the transmission. Medical Officer Lyra, transfer all non-essential personnel to the medical ships. Security Officer Drav, prepare emergency protocols." As the Concorde ships implemented Toran's orders, the battle intensified. The Void Striders, sensing the opportunity to capture the Concorde command ship, pressed their attack with renewed vigor. "Transmission ready, Commander," Zara reported. "Admiral Chen, we're ready on your mark," Toran communicated. "Acknowledged, Commander. On my signal. 3, 2, 1. Now." The Benevolence released the high-energy transmission, making it appear as though they were charging jump drives. As predicted, the Void Strider fleet immediately concentrated their fire on the Concorde command ship. "Shields failing," Drav shouted as the ship shuddered under the barrage. At that moment, Earth's forces executed their plan. 3 of their largest warships suddenly accelerated to what seemed like impossible speeds, bypassing the main Void Strider force and positioning themselves behind the enemy fleet. From these ships erupted what appeared to be massive electromagnetic pulses, but with a strange, swirling pattern that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself. When these pulses hit the Void Strider ships, their systems appeared to fail instantly, leaving them drifting and vulnerable. "What kind of weapon is that?" Zara wondered aloud. "Whatever it is, it's effective," Toran replied, watching as Earth's remaining ships methodically targeted the disabled Void Striders, destroying them one by one. Just as victory seemed within reach, their sensors detected a massive energy buildup in the lead Void Strider vessel. "They're preparing some kind of self-destruct sequence," Drav warned. "The yield would destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers, including the human ships that disabled them." Without hesitation, Toran gave his order. "Put all remaining power into engines. Move us between that ship and the human vessels." "Commander, our shields are gone," Drav protested. "We won't survive." "But the humans will," Toran replied firmly. "Without them, the rest of the Void Strider fleet will destroy us all. Do it now." The Benevolence surged forward, positioning itself directly in the path between the Void Strider flagship and the nearest human vessels. Toran sent a final message to Admiral Chen. "The lead ship is preparing to self-destruct. The blast will destroy your vessels unless shielded. We will absorb as much of the blast as possible. Continue the fight, Admiral. The Concorde thanks you for your assistance." Chen's reply was immediate. "Pull back, Commander. We can handle." Her words were cut off as the Void Strider ship exploded in a blinding flash of energy. The Benevolence took the brunt of the blast, its hull cracking under the strain. Emergency fields activated automatically, but they could only do so much against such raw power. Toran felt his crystalline form beginning to fracture under the energy surge. Around him, his crew worked desperately to maintain crucial systems despite the catastrophic damage. As consciousness began to fade, his last thought was of the strange coincidence that had brought them here. An ancient forgotten signal that had led to this moment of sacrifice. Commander Toran awoke to an unfamiliar ceiling. For a moment, he feared he had been captured by the Void Striders. Then he recognized the medical equipment around him. It was Concorde technology. "Welcome back, Commander," came a familiar voice. Medical Officer Lyra stood next to his recovery pod, monitoring his vital signs. "The battle?" Toran asked weakly, his crystalline form still regenerating. "Over. We won, thanks to your decision and the humans' unexpected capabilities. Your sacrifice gave their ships the time they needed to eliminate the remaining Void Striders. Casualties. We lost the security vessel and 17 crew members," Lyra reported solemnly. "The Benevolence is severely damaged but salvageable. As for the humans, they lost 4 ships, but their casualty count was remarkably low due to their advanced evacuation systems." Toran attempted to sit up, but Lyra gently pushed him back down. "Rest, Commander. You need time to regenerate. Where are we?" "Earth Orbital Station. The humans brought us here after the battle," Lyra explained. "They've been remarkably hospitable, considering we arrived unannounced in their system." The door to the medical bay slid open, and Admiral Chen entered, accompanied by 2 other humans in formal attire. "Commander Toran," Chen greeted him. "Good to see you recovering. Your actions saved many of my people." "And yours saved mine," Toran replied. "It seems we have much to learn about each other." "Indeed," said one of the humans with Chen, an older woman with silver hair who carried herself with unmistakable authority. "I am President Kamara of the Earth Alliance. Your bravery has convinced us of your peaceful intentions, Commander Toran. We would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with your Galactic Concord. Nothing would please me more, Madam President, Torin said. Though I must admit, this is not how first contact scenarios are usually taught at the Academy. President Chimera smiled. I imagine not. An ancient test signal leading to an accidental encounter, followed by a battle with a mutual enemy. It's certainly unconventional. The Void Striders, Torin said, his tone growing serious. They've attacked your colonies before. Admiral Chen nodded. Multiple times over the past decade. We've been fighting them alone, never knowing where they came from or why they targeted us. They're pirates and raiders from the Outer Rim territories, Torin explained. They prey on isolated worlds and steal technology and resources. They'd never attacked Concord worlds directly before, but there have been rumors of missing ships and outposts. They seemed particularly interested in your navigational data, President Chimera observed. Yes, Torin agreed. The Concord spans thousands of star systems. If they had obtained our navigational charts, they could have launched attacks throughout Concord space. Well, they didn't get it, Chen said firmly. And now we have a common enemy, and perhaps a common future. President Chimera stepped forward. Commander Torin, the Earth Alliance would like to propose an alliance with the Galactic Concord. We offer our strength and determination in exchange for your knowledge and experience. Together, we can ensure the Void Striders never threaten either of our peoples again. Torin looked at the humans standing before him, beings from a harsh world who had evolved to overcome incredible challenges. Deathworlders who had proven themselves not as mindless brutes, but as intelligent, honorable allies willing to risk their lives for strangers. Speaking on behalf of the Concord, Torin said formally, I accept your proposal. When they classified your world as a death world, they never considered what that would mean when you reached the stars. Now I understand. It means you survive, no matter the odds. It means you fight with incredible determination. And most importantly, it means you're exactly the allies we need in this dangerous galaxy. President Chimera smiled. We have a saying on Earth, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Our harsh world shaped us, prepared us for challenges beyond our atmosphere. We responded to your mistaken rescue with suspicion, but you've shown us that we're not alone in valuing life and peace. As they spoke, Torin realized the profound irony of the situation. The Concord had responded to a centuries-old test signal, expecting to find primitives in need of rescue. Instead, they had found powerful allies who had ultimately rescued them. Sometimes, Torin thought, mistakes lead to the most unexpected and valuable discoveries. And in the vast, dangerous expanse of the galaxy, the alliance between the adaptable, determined humans and the ancient, knowledgeable Concord would change the balance of power forever. The Deathworlders had not needed saving after all, and the galaxy would soon learn just how fortunate that was for everyone.